Hello, carbon-based life forms, and welcome to Dungeons and Deepspace. My name is Branson Plunk, and I will be your dungeon master for this D&D play podcast. If you don't know how to play the game or had never even heard of it, don't worry, it's super easy to pick up. Even some of my co-hosts had never played the game up until the start of quarantine. It's basically just a bunch of nerds sitting around and telling fantasy stories with some dice rolls thrown in to spice things up. Speaking of those nerds, I'll get to them in a minute so they can talk to you all about their characters, but first, I wanted to talk to you about our game. So for those of you who know about older versions of D&D, I've written a galaxy using a modified version of the Spelljammer setting. Basically, it's your standard fantasy world, but in space! There's a grand elven empire, a couple of dwarven kingdoms, some human civilizations, pirates all around, and crazy planets for our heroes to explore. I told my co-hosts Nate Rivard, Ashley Smith, Tina Rogers, and Mitch Woodson to make any kind of character they want, as long as they got into a situation where they had to be kidnapped by off-world pirates. Well, I suppose I've been stalling for long enough, so let's get to the intro music, and we can hear from our players.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Alrighty, first things first. Ashley, why don't you tell the audience about your character?
Oh, I would love to tell the audience about my character. The most fearsome pirate in the galaxy. At least that's what she'd tell you. Meera Bane is a young fire genasi from Primordia, the planet of genies. She aspires to be the youngest pirate to captain her own fleet. She was born out of an affair between an Ifrit naval commander and a pirate human. Meera was destined to have a love for space travel from a very young age. In fact, she left her home planet when she was 14 to follow in her mother's footsteps of piracy. She wouldn't return to Primordia for another 8 years and attempt to commandeer one of her father's naval vessels. And when her plan started going south, before she could be apprehended, she was engulfed by a beam of light and abducted into a mysterious spacecraft. Also a maroon.
All right, Tina, would you like to go ahead and talk about your character?
Oh, I guess that's me. I am doing Hothgar Rä. She is a space elf. Her hair is roughly like the Medusa, but instead of, snake tendrils that will turn you to stone, they really just look like the night sky of a night sky she's never seen before. Everyone always wanted a cleric, but she's not a cleric. She's a wizard. She's been spending the last odd century or so pretending to be a cleric. She has no applicable life skills, talents, or anything else to show for it, but she does possess some arcane knowledge that is deeply, deeply forbidden. The original plan was for a separate cleric to have been kidnapped off of her own world, but in a worst sort of pirate bureaucracy, those files were misplaced, and instead you have in front of you Hothgar Rä, space elf, wizard, unfortunately not a healer.
I love the idea of a cleric, a wizard in disguise.
Yeah, she's just full on been pretending to be a cleric.
You, to represent that, you picked the charlatan background, correct?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yeah, so.
Great. Nate, go ahead and tell me about Brother Kyle.
My name is Brother Kyle. I was born on the planet of Pancana. I was orphaned from a very young age. My parents left me on the doorsteps of the monastery nearby. For the last remainders of my years, I've been part of the brothers of perpetual torment and sorrow. And through vigorous physical exertion, torture, and rituals from the gods, I was infused with the power that our people call Ki, allowing me to fight back against the tyrants that rule our land.
Wow.
I'm like sad.
Yeah, it's actually a really badass intro. And finally, we have Mitch. Go ahead and tell me about Hothgar Rä.
Right on. All right, so For the last 100 years, the winds of the Faerun have blown Hothgar Rä from the far east to the Sword Coast and then back again. A once proud barbarian of the Loxodon tribes, for the first 60 or so years of his youth, his people roamed from the Unthar to well beyond the Thesk Mountains and were the utmost force for peace. But after the rending of the tribes, the Loxodons were disbanded into rogue cells, and they became weak. And now there are very few left, maybe none as far as he knows. Hothgar Rä, now with no kinsman to protect him, lives a steady but slow life of battle and coin. And he's just received word that a job may be sending him back to the east again.
6,
But little does he know.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere with that.
Nope.
And that wraps up our introductory trailer for our podcast. If you like what you heard, you can catch our first 3 episodes, that's right, 3 episodes, on Wednesday, December 16th. Holy moly, 3 at one time? That's right. You know why? You deserve it. We love you. Treat yourself. Make sure you follow us in the coming days on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love if you added us to your watch list. Until then, happy trails and stay safe out there, folks. The universe is a dangerous place.